Good evening. Welcome to the March 12th joint meeting of the Budget Finance Committee and the Select Board Budget Review. First order of business will be approval of last minutes from the last meeting of February 26th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 26th.
Second?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
those minutes have been previously amended.
Okay. They are amended.
Make a motion to approve the amended minutes of
Correct.
March 26th.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All those in favor? Thank you. Tonight, I ask all speakers, whoever you represent, to please come to the microphone, tell us your name, where you live, and who you represent, and provide a brief description of why you're here as well. First in order, we will take Public Works. Nathan? Excuse me. Go ahead, Don.
I did invite a representative from the Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, she's here. An RTP as well. I just wanted to make you aware of that. Maybe you still want to stick with the agenda as you have it, but I wanted to let you know that.
Okay. Let's get Nate out of here.
Works for me. Good evening, everybody. First, I'll apologize to No Heat. Apparently, our oil company forgot we existed up here on their automatic delivery, so hopefully everybody can stay warm. Not a lot changed to my budget, a little bit in salaries. We're going forward with the plowing next winter. I'm open for any questions.
Where are you at this point with plowing?
We're finishing off the end of the contract this winter. P&K handed back Raymond Cape Road, which is a little over 6 miles. We altered the contract to reflect that, and we're ready. We're waiting for the new truck. Is in Skowhegan's getting upfitted this week. One of the trucks is already here. The 3 Vermont trucks that we bought, are all but one have been through the shop and are actually being used. We got one left to run through the shop, and I think we're all set.
So what kind of fleet do you have?
We've got 3, 4, 5 wheelers, 2 550s, and 2 pickups, and a couple of spare pickups for plows.
Is there an agreement between other towns where you would use them for winter driving?
No, we have, the staff-wise, we have not got, we've got one person agreed to come on. We've got one tentative, we need one more. We have one full-time position open right now. We had a gentleman get done last week, I think it was, he got done? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago he got done. So we're not staffing up for, 2 of the plow guys are gonna be part-time, and they'll be coming on next winter.
Go ahead, Dana.
Did you ever fill that mechanic's position?
We moved Jason Larrabee into that position and hired a guy that used to work here about 10 years ago, hired him back. So that's how we ended up filling it.
And who?
Jason Albegard. He worked here, I think it was just about 10 years ago. And he left to start a business of his own, and things changed in his life, and we were fortunate enough to hire him back.
Huh. The yellow truck down at District 2 down here,
Yep.
was that ready to plow this winter?
It hasn't been through the shop. When we bought it in Vermont, we made it back from Vermont without any problems. We just haven't gone through it to do everything else, put the Maine State Inspection sticker to it. Just haven't done it yet. We didn't need it this winter.
Now, is there any reason why we bought that, because we didn't use it?
Because we came across the deal in July last year, and it was buy them now or wait until you can't find them. And the Board of Selectmen, through the town meeting last year, said to buy them. So we bought 3
Well,
of them from
that
the
was
dealer.
an addition to the last year's budget.
It was, no,
$500,000.
it was into this budget. It was this budget that we're in right now.
Well, I know, but it was added at the end of our budget later. Well, it was added, Nathan, during the budget process, but it wasn't there at the beginning.
Yes,
That's
it
what I'm
was.
saying.
Yeah, it was in my
Well,
presentation.
the 550 was.
No, the used fleet was there in the budget. We had 270,000, I think it was, Tom, for equipment, and in that was three used wheelers and one new one. And that went through the whole budget process. We started it with this process last year.
Huh. I just remember differently, but,
We
it's-
went up and looked at the trucks before town meeting, and we made a deal with them.
Well, we
before
still
town-
had it, well, I remember asking you about this, Nathan, because we still had a year left with P&K.
That's this year we're in right now.
Now, did P&K give us any rebate for,
Yes, yep.
and how much was that?
I don't know what the number is. We took, it's per mile, I think they're at 5,800 a mile, and you'd have to do the math. It's just under 6 miles, I think it is. It's just a snitch
And
over 6 miles.
you don't have that math.
I don't have that math in front of me. No, that was in last year's budget.
So how much did P&K cost us this year total?
I don't know. I budgeted the 187. They knocked out whatever the math is on that. I think it was around 40,000, I think. I think it was something in that range.
Yeah. 'Cause I spoke with somebody that works at P&K, and he's been there for a long time, and they were kind of surprised that we went the route we went.
Oh, they had
as
plenty.
far-
They had plenty of warning.
Well, I realize that, but they were still surprised that we went that route, because there's a lot of people here that have been there. Rolf, you're one of them. We've had other contractors before, and it didn't work out. P&K did a great job for the years they've worked for us. They've treated us well, and
Well,
I
I
was
disputed that.
surprised to hear that we wanted to take something like this on our own just because of one complaint from one taxpayer.
Oh, no, it wasn't one complaint, Dana. It was quite a long process in this. And we had a couple of sit-down meetings with them. We talked it out with them. Things didn't get any better. And when we discussed another alternative, this is what we were handed. They didn't want it back. They asked us. They
Wanted it back.
No, they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
No, they didn't. Not according to the owner of the company.
Well, whatever.
And first of all, this wasn't my idea to do this. My plan.
Well, the thing is, Nathan, we've got all this iron. We have a brand new 550 that hasn't even plowed a snowflake.
Didn't intend it to plow it this winter
Why did we buy it?
because we had the money to purchase it and get everything in place to get it going.
Well, why didn't we use that money to lower the mill rate?
I
If we
didn't
had
make- I
that
didn't
money
make those
last year,
decisions.
we could have used it this year.
I didn't make those decisions. That was a decision above me. It was the Board of Selectmen made those decisions.
Yeah. All right.
Don?
If you're gonna take on a job of this magnitude, you have to have the equipment, and so, we've had to gather the equipment, we've done a lot of negotiating. The Vermont trucks were a threefer, we negotiated very well to make that purchase. As Nathan indicated, knowing that we weren't gonna need them this winter, we will need them next winter. It takes time to get them up and going and ready, the used trucks. You can't buy trucks overnight that are new, so they have to be ordered, they have to be outfitted. It takes time. So we're gonna have the fleet up and ready to go. In the meantime, of course, we've taken on more and more mileage, and so we are using some of the equipment that we purchased. And that's just the way it is. It's a significant undertaking to gear up and be ready. And I think, like most other towns that have done this, and it is the majority of towns that do this, it's the distinct minority that still utilize contractors. I think in the long run, the extra utility you're going to get by doing your own plowing and having your own crew is going to be recognized and seen, and there's going to be a significant difference, and it's going to be a difference for the better. It's not just one concern. We've had a number of people and a number of public officials over a long period of time that have seen a degradation in the quality of the work that we got from the contractor. Let's be out with that. And so the contractor has had a long history and done a good job over the long term. But I think the time has come to step into this, and that's what the Board of Selectmen decided. And so we've gotten ready, and that's what we're doing. And I think it's a positive change. I wanted to mention that we are working with our town of Naples. They have a proposal under consideration up there. They're just stepping in the very early stages of public works. I have a feeling that Casco may go that way too, once they get their new town manager on board. Dave didn't want to initiate anything brand new as he was exiting. So they're looking at stepping into public works. So I think there is an opportunity to share laborers, share equipment operators. Basically, that's going to work in that we need winter help, they need additional help during the spring, summer, and fall. So we're looking at regional solutions, working together with our neighbors, and I think we made a heck of a deal on this equipment we purchased, so we're going to be very happy with that. And you know, I couldn't be more pleased with the outcome that we were able to achieve, and I think you'll be impressed with what we're able to do. It's a good move.
Sheila?
Just a comment. The Board of Selectmen made a decision, staff is carrying it out, and to my perspective, following the budget process last year, admirably. To get, you guys are amazing finding decent used equipment, I gotta give you that. That really does save the town money, and speaking personally, I'd rather have my Public Works Department responsible for all of my roads than a private contractor. So I just wanted to voice my support for the job staff's doing to get, this is a huge undertaking. And to get it done and ready in a year should be commended. So I just wanted to add that.
Dana?
We still use a subcontractor other than P&K, right?
Correct.
Now, why do we need Starrett's snow?
No, we don't use Starrett's.
No?
For plowing? No, we don't use any. It's gonna be
Now,
all-
why are they down at the pit getting sand?
We made a deal with the town of Gray. He is subcontracted to do the town stuff off in Gore Road and Brown Road. Steve Valley from Gray Public Works supplies the sand for that. We store it in our building for the save on traveling across the Egypt Road and all the way from their building. We've been doing that for 4 years now.
Now, how's that work as far as,
So far, so
you know,
good.
coming back?
We've had 2 contractors in there. He's the second one. It's worked out with no issues.
How do you do you have a scale down there? Is
No,
it-
yeah, he counts the loads as they come out, and Steve replaces what he takes out. We started the winter with, I think it was around 300 yards of
Yeah.
gray sand in there, and they're getting ready to haul back a couple hundred yards this coming week.
Now, that tractor you bought with the bush hog on it,
Yes, yeah,
that was a add-on to your budget last year.
correct, yes.
All right. Now, where did that money come out of?
Come out of my CIP account, and we borrowed, I think it was 50,000 from the fire department CIP account.
Now, how much did that tractor cost?
78,000. We're looking to, we've got an agreement with Gloucester to run it over there for 3 weeks this year, and we're working with Naples right now, and we're gonna try to get Casco.
Now, Nathan, I've been around for a long time, and I've seen how well that we work with other towns, and how well we treat them, and we treat them well, and we end up getting the shaft.
Well,
We've done that with dispatch in Naples, and we've done that with the fire department with Gray. So I'm a little leery on mutual agreements with different towns,
This isn't a mutual agreement.
especially when we pay for it.
This isn't a mutual agreement. We've agreed to work for an hourly rate with the machine, and they've agreed to pay it. So we're gonna send an operator with the machine to Gloucester for 2 to 3 weeks at a predetermined amount of money per hour, and when we're done, we come home, they pay the bill, and we move on.
Now, you're gonna lose a person in the middle of the
Correct.
summer.
Correct.
Now, that's
Well, that's
really
part
not,
of the,
that's
trying to,
really not that,
well, we were trying to come up with covering our plowing in the winter. We're hoping to, this part-time person that we're hiring to work with Naples is gonna be part of that plan.
How's your sand supply holding up?
Good, good. We're about, we've been 4,100 yards of sand right to date, and we're about halfway through that budget on sand.
I got another question, Bob, please
Yes.
reply me. Speaking of sand, Bob, you brought up like 3-4 years ago about the building that public uses.
Yep,
It was in disrepair.
Yep.
And it still is.
Well, we shored it up.
Except the little picture of the angels that watch the thieves
Yeah, yeah,
steal the
saw that.
sand, because, we've been getting stolen blind
oh, probably have.
this
yeah.
winter.
No,
Why is that
but-
gate open after 5 o'clock?
Because I felt that the weather that we were getting was so bad that people can't get there by 5 o'clock. We took a lot of calls and a lot of complaints about it. I get it, people don't get home until 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So we took a chance with the ice that we've had, and we just leave it open. We haven't seen an alarming amount of sand going out of there for the type of winter we've had. I'm sure we're getting some from other towns.
Big time.
No, not as bad as you think, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
How do
It's,
you know?
If you know what's going on, then
how do I know?
Yeah.
Okay.
call me and tell
Whatever.
me what's going on. We'll come down and
I'm
stop it.
seriously asking, how do you know?
I go down there and get sand.
Okay,
We spot check it from time to time. I've been down there at night. I've spot checked people. It isn't enough to, the abuse is a quarter of what it used to be. I mean,
I'm sorry I'm asking too many
well,
questions.
no, you're not
Go
asking
ahead.
too many questions, Dana, but if you see a problem down there, pick up the phone and call me, and I'll go down and take care of it. You know, I'm trying to help out the taxpayers by leaving the gate open so they can get sand when they need it. I mean, I took crap from you years ago for locking it, and now you're here giving me crap for leaving it unlocked.
Never
So-
heard from me.
Oh,
for
yes, I
locking it.
have, absolutely.
Don,
I would just like to say for the record that we have a close, cooperative, and good relationship with our neighboring communities, and it's only getting better. And so that's first point. And second point is most of these towns have sand salt facilities of their own, so there could be some incidental, use by travelers from other towns. Probably more than likely, most people are going to their own town.
go ahead, Rolf.
With the types of winters we've had, you seeing an uptick on sand that you're gonna need going forward? Or?
We average it out over a 5-year period, and we're right on. We're doing all right. I'm not.
You're still doing the end of the fiscal year buying on that when it goes down?
Correct. Yes.
Go ahead, Marshall.
That's the same for salt.
Salt. Yeah, we're close on salt. We're at 989 ton right now. We're budgeted for 1,200 tons, so we're getting close on salt. But the type of weather we've had kind of chews the salt up pretty good. The daytime storms and trying to keep the slush off the road has been a bit of a battle.
We're turning into spring. Let's hope it's starting to go away.
You want to tackle bulky waste?
Sure, I don't know much more than it's a 2% increase on the bulky waste. We're on one more year with their contract.
Okay, that was my question. How much longer we have the
I
contract?
got one more year, and we've got an option in that contract for a renegotiation after this year. I would expect on the renegotiation, we're gonna see an increase on that.
Increase in recycling.
Recycling, yes.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. Can we shift gears towards CIP?
Sure.
Sidewalks. You got a plan to do sidewalks this year?
2020.
It's in the budget.
The project that keeps sliding into the future. So we're now looking at a 2020 project, and we're also, and this is going to come up in a future selectmen meeting, but we're also experiencing some, cost overruns, estimated cost overruns because we haven't gone to bid. And so we've got our representative Jessica Fay and also Senator Bill Diamond, who is chair of the Transportation Committee. We're going to be meeting soon with the Department of Transportation to see if we can resolve that issue as in the next couple of weeks. And so I'm confident, particularly with Bill's help, that we're going to be able to get that resolved. But so we've got a few, I guess I wouldn't call them glitches, but things that are still uncertain and need to be resolved with respect to the project cost. We're working through that. And then the timeline, as I said, is something that slipped a little bit from our original expectation. But the project is still on track. We're still moving forward. It has become a little bit more complicated project than what we originally envisioned with the DOT involvement, which is much more than what was originally envisioned. But I think when we get all done, assuming we get the financial issue of the DOT resolved, we're going to solve drainage issues. We're going to, solve some right-of-way issues. We're going to, perhaps have a much better situation there with respect to paving. That's our plan. And so we've got a number of things that are still in the works, but the project is on track, moving forward with all deliberate municipal speed.
Yeah.
Any equipment you're looking to purchase, CIP?
Not this year. The CIP equipment account is going to go to pay off the 624 loader that we purchased and pay back the $50,000 to the fire department rather. That's going to leave me with $55,000 to carry over to next year. We're looking at replacing the 2006 single axle dump truck next year. We're going to evaluate it and take a look at that point, see where we're at. That give us one full cycle on all the Vermont trucks, see what we got there, make sure nothing's got any hidden problems that should maybe go away. But I think at that point we're all right.
Paving?
Paving. We're going to pave Brown Road, Canal Road, Shaw Road, the District 2 parking lot, and we're looking at paving Dollymont. Dollymont's at the top of Gore Road. It's been a dirt road. for quite some time, and we're getting quite a few calls on that. They'd like to see it paved. That comes out to about $350,000. We've got a carryover from this year. It's, I think it was around 149,000 carries forward. So we should be all set on that.
I'll ask one more question, sorry. Is there a reason why we don't pave Mill Street parking lot, the ballpark?
Well,
I mean, we were down there a couple of years ago paving and
I
the
talked-
road.
I talked about paving it a couple, 4 or 5 years ago is when we did Mill Street, and the consensus was no. It's a lot of money, that's about 50 grand to pave that.
Real?
And I personally think it should be paved. I think it would be a lot easier to maintain. School department uses it pretty heavy during the year. It'd be a lot easier for them to plow it, but it's 50 grand.
Couldn't there be like a shared expense there?
For the school department?
Well, you know, Nathan,
That'd
if
be
you
the
don't
only
ask,
area I would agree with you,
if you don't
David.
ask,
Yeah,
you know,
right, no.
you don't find out.
I can't get them to pay for the parking lot down here.
Well, we don't plow for them anymore.
No, we don't.
So,
Any other questions for Nathan?
that somebody's pacemaker or?
Yeah. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Do you want to release Nathan? He's had quite a lot of hours here.
Go get some oil.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cemeteries, do we need you for cemeteries? I thought you were gonna do something. No. Okay, well,
Town hall.
okay, sorry.
Almost
Guess
out
you
here.
aren't leaving early.
Well,
I tried, Nate, so sorry about that.
Cemeteries, I think they're pretty, Sue's gonna correct me on this, but we've got the Raymond Hill project that's been lingering
page
on.
22, if you're following along.
Sorry, what's that?
Page 22 in the budget.
The Raymond Hill project's been dragging on for a couple of years. I underestimated the cost of that, so we're gonna have to go in and do that ourselves. The quotes I got for doing that were 2 to 3 times more than what we budgeted to do it. So we're gonna go in there this spring and hopefully finish it up. It's been stumped and the loam's been screened and we've hauled some fill in, so hopefully it won't take too long to do that. Outside of that, the stuff coming up, the land, I think that's it on that, isn't it, Sue?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing different.
On the town office, we still have heat pumps to do up there. That's in the CIP budget, and we've got some interior work to do. Contractor was supposed to have been here a month ago. We're hoping he shows up. We're gonna go to the next one in line. I think that's it.
The loam at the cemetery, you selling that or?
No, I'm hoping to use it. I think we're gonna need most of that up there. That's actually all just from the stumps that were there.
Yeah,
Run
it's
it
still
out.
good
Yeah,
material.
it's
I
very
mean,
good material.
yeah.
We mix
I
some-
mean, it would offset some of the costs that you incur.
Right, but I
No,
think we're
I'm
gonna
always
do-
thinking
yeah,
like
the
that. I'm not a banker, but you know.
Problem is, I think I need most of that to getting grass to grow there. I think. the
Yeah, well, it's
calculations
a good
are-
idea. You know, use it for the parks and.
Any other questions for Nathan? Thank you, Nathan.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's start with our provider agencies. Southern Maine Agency on Aging.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz Thompson, here from the Southern Maine Agency on Aging. I'll try to make this quick and sweet. This year we're asking for $500 from the town of Raymond to contribute to the services that we provide to Raymond residents. Last year we provided $18,396 worth of service to 63 Raymond seniors and disabled adults. 40 residents received information and referral sources through the agency's INR department. That's staffed by social workers who meet with those clients and their families in person, over the phone, in their homes to address any number of needs that you might imagine an aging person or a caregiver might have. 22 residents received Medicare and insurance counseling. Those interventions happen through a meeting with a trained volunteer. It often results in those clients saving hundreds and thousands of dollars on insurance and prescription costs. Eight Raymond residents received support through our family caregiver support program. We have support groups, we have evidence-based classes that help caregivers deal with the stress and generate coping mechanisms for their caregiver role. 4 residents participated in our congregate dining programs. We have traditional community cafes, and then we have what's called an As You Like It program, which is a voucher programs where they can purchase the voucher at a number of different locations and redeem them at participating restaurants and dining halls throughout southern Maine. So 4 residents received 25 meals through that program. 2 Raymond residents participated in our Maine Senior Games events. 1 resident participated in 6 classes through our Age Well program. We have a bunch of different workshops and classes that help people reduce their risk of falls and better self-manage chronic pain and chronic conditions. Those are evidence-based and proven to reduce hospital readmissions and improve health outcomes. 7 Raymond residents received 797 meals through our Meals on Wheels program. So again, we estimate that service is valued at $18,396, and we're asking for $500 in support. Some other notable statistics. Right now, about 75% of the towns we do serve contribute, so we're hoping you will be joining that statistic. The average donation is about $3,700, but we are grateful for any level of support that we can get to support our programs.
Thank you.
Any questions about what we do?
David?
Thank you for coming over tonight. This is something that we neglected over the past years in providing services to this agency. And it's not because I'm getting older, but
We're all getting older.
there we are. But there are needs in this town. It is an older community, and what you just explained really happens. I know. I've seen it. So you'll get my vote on this.
We appreciate
hands
it.
down.
And we understand, despite being located in Scarborough, we serve every town in York and Cumberland County, with the exception of Brunswick and Harpswell. So we understand the struggles in more rural communities like Raymond. We try to make our services available through localized services, I'm not sure what our closest Medicare appointment location is, but we do have services that reach people in their homes. Meals on Wheels is the most obvious one. So we do our best to reach seniors in all of the communities in our service region.
Sheila?
Isn't it true that funding has impacted Meals on Wheels? I think there's been, for the second time in the last funding year, that if you picked up the phone right now, you eligible or not, you can't get a meal because there's not enough funds to provide the food.
Unfortunately, that's true. This is, so for the first time ever in the organization's history, we did have to institute a waiting list last year. That has to do with a number of things. One, the referrals are coming in at a faster rate now than they ever have been. Federal funding has remained pretty stagnant. It hasn't necessarily decreased. There's been ebbs and flows, but it's pretty level for the past 10 to 15 years, really. And then costs of the program continue to increase. I mean, just like a gallon of milk at the grocery store is more now than it was 15 years ago. Our food costs for that program increased 4% last year alone. and our transportation costs 3%. So that's felt throughout the organization. What we had to do was basically put a cap on the number of meals that we could serve without it financially impacting all of the programs we serve throughout the whole organization. So we monitored that closely to make sure that we're kind of on trend to serve that, and right now we're not. We're way over serving, so we had to reinstitute a wait list. We wiped it out at the end of last fiscal year because of because of federal funding coming in all of the sudden and then having to use it before the end of our fiscal year. So that's another struggle, is sort of the unpredictable timing of when the government decides to pay us for that. And then we had to reinstitute it in January, early January. So right now there's about 150 clients waiting to receive meals. And what a lot of people don't know is that federal funding, government funding, only covers about 40% of our budget for that program. So the rest comes from charitable contributions. So it's dependent on the ebbs and flows of fundraising as well.
So the people that don't get, that are waiting, are they going hungry, or?
Yeah, we have, we do have a private pay home delivered meal program, and we offer that at a discounted rate of $5 a meal. We obviously do our best to connect them to any other program that might help address their overall needs. So it could be a funding restriction or a transportation issue that's limiting their ability to get meals, which qualifies them for the program. So we might try to connect them to a transportation program or help identify other benefits they can take advantage of to free up some of their income, things like that. So
Now, the town of Raymond has a fund that we use for needy people. Is that something, Dawn, that we could use for, to supplement, like a Meals on Wheels type of deal for Raymond residents, or don't we have an oil fund, or we use
Yes,
it
it's
for
called the
different?
Raymond Community Assistance
Yeah.
Fund, and so it's privately donated monies and that are used with some level of discretion by the town. We don't have the formalized guidelines that are in place for general assistance, so I think the quick answer would be yes.
some of the restrictions on Meals on Wheels are because we receive federal Older Americans Act funding for the program. So we're only allowed to take people off the list in order that they were put on. So unfortunately, it doesn't give us a lot of flexibility to address maybe the most neediest clients. But what we have kind of told towns to do, or that they could do, is with similar funds, they could help support the cost of what's our private pay program. Oh, excuse me. Which is called Simply Delivered Meals. So they could almost provide scholarship gap funding until that person is eligible.
Is that something they would coordinate with you folks?
They could. That would be a question for our fund,
All right. Thank you.
our accounting department.
In looking at the last 990 that I could find, it's looking at 63% of your budget is going to salaries and benefits. Is that still?
I don't have it in front of me, but it's been a consistent, it hasn't gone up or down in any significant amount throughout the time that I've been there, which has been 8 years. The work that we provide is from staff to client. So 15 staff right now are social workers who answer calls, go to visits in the homes, and do information and referral to other organizations in the community. So a lot of the work we do is really kind of person to person, and that's, I guess, kind of what my explanation for that would be. Direct service is the Meals on Wheels program, the community cafes and things that we do, but that's the reality of the type of work that we do, is that it's really kind of staff to client connections.
in the, the work that you're doing on the Medicare advising, are they all licensed agents, or are they?
No, they don't
So they have
provide.
no CMS oversight?
No, they're not providing, they only lay out the options. They're SHIP counselors, State Health Insurance Program, I think that stands for. So they're volunteers. They are given all the information for all basically the coverage that any senior could have. They come in and make sure that all of the options are laid out to the client. They don't direct them in any one way or another. And I should say, so that budget, 66%, we have over 100 staff people, 600 volunteers who help us deliver the programs that we offer. 300 of those deliver Meals on Wheels. So we're doing our absolute best to utilize volunteers and increase human capital to provide our services. All of our Medicare and insurance counseling is provided by trained licensed volunteers. So we do our best to reduce costs in that way. And we serve in total over 21,000 seniors, adults with disabilities, and caregivers every year.
Any other questions for Liz?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to run down the list. There may not be representatives for all of these agencies. RTP, please. Page 53.
What was that?
Thank you for having us.
53.
So my name is Rick Harbison. I'm a senior planner at the Greater Portland Council of Governments. We provide planning services to RTP for the Lakes Region Explorer. Here with my coworker Zoe Miller. I forget your title. Senior Project Manager. So I do have a handout for you all that's essentially the funding letter that we sent this year. So I'll pass that around, as well as a advertising piece that we did. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of the bus, what it is for those who aren't familiar with it, talk about some of the highlights from the last year, go over the financials and the request, and then open it up for any questions. So the bus is the Lakes Region Explorer. It's been operating since 2014. Planning for the bus began a lot sooner than that. I'm sure Don was involved in some of the initial conversations with the bus. I think it dates back to 2001. So it has been running since 2014. It goes up and down Route 302. It starts in Bridgeton every morning, goes Bridgeton to Portland, and stops in all the communities along the way. It makes 4 round trips a day. 2 of those round trips are in the morning. 2 are in the afternoon. It's with a little bit of a break in the morning. So it's an 18-passenger bus. It has free Wi-Fi. It's wheelchair accessible, and there's a bike rack with space for 2 bikes on the front. So the stop in Raymond is at Sunset Variety. They've been very generous to have a stop there and to allow Raymond residents and other folks using the stop to use their parking spaces there as well. So you can park, get on the bus, go to Portland, go to Bridgeton, wherever, and your car's there when you get back. And the cost for the bus is $3, and then there are some discounts for people that are over 65. It's $2. Students with ID is $2, and people with disabilities is $2 as well. So highlights from the past year. If you flip through the letter, they're also in there. I think the key highlight for us is just that ridership continues to increase. So this year we had ridership surpass 10,000 riders or boardings, which has been a goal of ours since the beginning. So the total ridership for the past year, and this is a rolling 12 months from when that letter was distributed, is 10,423 boardings, which is when you compare it to the first year, of ridership, which was a little bit over 6,000 riders. We're happy with where it is. So it's been continuing to increase year after year. I think we're hoping that continues. We do want to manage expectations a little bit. It's one bus. It goes round trip. It's not like we're operating two buses. So we're hoping it continues. But I think ultimately if we want to see much greater increases in ridership, we're probably going to need a few more buses. So this summer we saw some months with over 1,000 riders per month, and last year that was the first time that happened. We had 3 months where we had over 1,000 riders, and this year we had 4 months with over 1,000 riders. Our August we had 1,240 some riders, which was the highest month we've had since we started the service. So people are definitely hearing about the bus and beginning to use it, and we're really excited about that. So other highlights are we do have a new bus ordered for next year. The timing is a little bit of a question mark. It takes time to get all the contracts signed and the paperwork and to get the bus shipped. But it's going to be a 24-passenger bus, which is more seats than what we have currently. So we're looking forward to that. And some of those morning runs are at capacity going into Portland, so having those extra seats I think will be very helpful. Another kind of major initiative that we undertook this year is we're doing real-time tracking on the bus. So what that means is the bus has a GPS unit, and so if you want to see where the bus is at any given time along the route, you can go to lakesregionexplorer.org, and it pops up a map, and there's a circle with a little arrow on it, and it shows where the bus is with an arrow of which direction it's going. So we're really excited about that. I think it's been very convenient for folks that are taking the bus. It provides a measure of reassurance. The bus is going up and down 302. There's lots of potential delays with construction in the summer, bad weather in the winter, school buses, you name it. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. So if you're waiting at the stop, the one thing you want to know is, like, did I miss the bus, or how far away is it? And you can get that on your phone now, which is really great. We also did a direct mailer ad campaign this year, so that's what that marketing piece is that's going around. That's the first time we've done that, and we're really happy with how it turned out. That went out to all residents in the Lakes region towns. We got a lot of positive feedback about that, and attached to that there's free 2 single ride passes, and we saw a lot of those come back in the fare box too, so we were really pleased with that. And then we also teamed up again this year and provided free service to the Maine Blues Festival. So we had 2 buses, one that goes from Naples to Bridgeton and back, and then one that went from Naples to Portland and back, stopping at all the usual stops. And then also, not in the letter, but just some thoughts, some things I'd add, is that we did meet with the Raymond Age Friendly Committee this year, earlier this winter. Had a really productive meeting, sort of talked about the bus and about some of the other mobility concerns for residents in Raymond. And we've also committed, RTP is committed to doing seasonal Saturday service beginning not this summer, but next summer. So we're looking forward to beginning to plan that out and to unveil that next summer. As far as the financials, this year it's a reduced match requirement, so it's $8,500 is the ask for all 5 towns, and so that totals $42,500. And I just reiterate, this is a regional project, so that's partly why this is able to work, is we get contributions from all the towns. No one, it wouldn't make sense for this bus to operate to one town. It wouldn't be able to pay for the bus, the driver, all the expenses. But when all the towns pool their resources together, it makes this fundable. So that $42,500, it is 27% of the service's annual expenses which are $158,875. And then that leverages federal funds of $91,375. So that's kind of the rundown I had prepared. Would love to answer any questions that you might have or hear your thoughts.
Teresa?
This past couple months ago, I believe, were you aware that there was a gentleman that was taking out petitions and going to each town and asking for $10,000 to be put in their budget for the Lake Regions bus? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so we were approached by a Raymond resident asking for some extra brochures and things like that, that they were going to do a petition campaign.
A Raymond resident?
Mm,
He's not from Raymond.
No.
He was from Portland.
It was important.
Yeah. And we have no idea. He went to all the different towns on the bus route
okay.
and did a petition. But he did take out a petition. I think, Sue, you can correct that if I'm wrong. But he did take it out at election day in order to be able to get some signatures. That's the only way I think they can get some of them. So were you guys aware that this gentleman was doing this?
I would say yes. We provided them with materials.
Yeah, so.
It wasn't, we didn't work with that gentleman necessarily. It was a Raymond resident. I forget her
so
name.
No, let's be correct here. He was not a Raymond resident.
No,
He
he's
was
a
No.
resident of Portland
No, we were contacted by a Raymond resident.
to do this petition.
Yeah, and for brochures and things like that.
No, it's not, no.
Then we're definitely talking about two different things then.
Okay.
The select board was served a petition with signatures that once they had so many signatures that we had to put it on a town meeting to add $10,000 to the Lake Region bus. And it was denied because they didn't have enough signatures, but he also went to Bridgeton, Naples, Casco. Don't think they went to Wyndham, but not sure what other towns other than that. So he's not an employee of yours, it's my understanding through some research that we've done, but we're just wondering what you know of that.
So my understanding is that it's George Bratt that you're talking about, who was very active in working in he did live in Bridgeton before and was very active in getting residents there involved with supporting the bus, and that I think in the fall he was looking to connect with residents of some of the other towns to use a similar approach. And so that was not something that RTP or GPCOG was doing. It was really led by him, and that he requested some materials from us to use in that outreach.
I think one of my concerns then, if it wasn't pushed by you guys and it wasn't with you guys, why would the towns not get a call from you guys to say, heads up, this was not our push, this was not our doing? Because it's generally somebody coming in from another town telling us what to spend $10,000 on out of our money is what it is. You know what I mean? Kind of forcing our hand. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out where you guys fit into this, how much you knew of him going to each of these towns to do this.
I mean, I think our understanding is that he had his own relationships with people in the towns, and so that he was connecting with residents of Raymond, that it wasn't, so I could see where you're coming from, but I think it was at any point if residents from a given town want to show support or take some kind of action, I think, it's kind of out of our hands, but I think we can definitely see where you're coming from, in that in the future it'd be good to have a conversation about it. I think we weren't fully aware of what his plans, included.
Did you even bother to ask him what he was doing?
You guys kind of looked a little
Yeah,
shocked by the whole
yeah.
situation. I think like you're not full, and it's nothing bad. I'm just saying you're just kind of not sure of the whole situation is what it is, and you're kind of getting blindsided now, unfortunately, by it.
Yeah, my perspective on this is that it was a citizen-driven initiative. At least somebody from Maine, right? that was up to whatever he was up to. You weren't supporting it, you weren't involved in it. You might have had an inkling of what that person was up to. Also, somebody from Raymond evidently asked for a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, the question really becomes is there an obligation for any organization to report back to towns what's going on in their own town? I mean, it's a citizen initiative. I'm not so sure what your role, one way or the other, would be in something like this. I can understand our select board not being particularly enamored of such a citizen-driven initiative, but they happen all the time for different issues. Are we suggesting, or is the select board suggesting, that outside organizations should call up the town when they know citizens are in the area or up to something? Is that what we're saying?
If it was me, I'd say, look, we did not know, we did not put this gentleman up to this. We are happy with the money that you give us. Please understand that we are not shoving this down your throat.
But
wait,
that's not.
I'm asking what they knew of it, Sheila, is all I'm
they
asking.
said they
And I'm
didn't.
noticing that they seem blindsided
said
a
they
bit
did.
by it.
Right.
They indicated that they did know
Right,
about it.
but they do seem a little bit shocked on it too. And I guess I'm surprised too is, I know I saw you guys at the last town meeting, and I thought you guys were gonna come, actually, you went to the Age Friendly, that's fine, it's in Raymond. My concern is, what I am hearing is people cannot get to the bus stop, and I was hoping there would be more of a open dialogue as to what we can do to fix that. And I haven't seen it, to be honest. But I know recently, it was just recently at the Age Friendly. But just questioning it, Sheila. So,
The getting people to, here's my opinion is, it's the only public transportation link we have. It happens to be on 302. But to get people to the bus who can't drive anymore and all those kinds of things are mostly being handled by communities themselves in their own transportation networks. It was referred to earlier in SMA. One of the reasons that Harpswell is not involved is they have a very healthy, age-friendly community, and they run their own vans to get people to the public transportation. So I think long-term, as this problem grows in Raymond, it's going to be something that a solution needs to be found. I don't think there is one today, but it's going to be a growing need for citizens of Raymond. Not only to get to the wider community, because also when you get on that bus, you can get a transfer and get anywhere in Portland and also out to the airport, I believe, from the bus. So I think long-term, I don't think there's any easy answers for all of our, particularly in more rural areas, other than some type of volunteer transportation networks. I think as the age-friendly thing matures, I know the survey results are almost ready, we'll see what people have to say about it, and it might be a new problem that we're going to have to address in the future. I'm not so sure that an RTP can get out to all the communities in the outlying roads to get people to that major transportation network. That's going to, I think, as our community ages and the state of Maine ages, it's going to be an increasing problem.
So I'll just say on that note, I mean, separate from a service like the Lakes Region Explorer, RTP and other, and GPCOG are working on how we address mobility needs for folks who need door-to-door or even door-through-door, like somebody to, give them a hand on getting in and out of vehicles. And so, we have been building capacity to be able to support communities to do more. And the conversation that we had with the age-friendly community here was regarding, how can there be supports to get more volunteer rides happening without every town starting their own volunteer driver program, and we are continuing to work on that and raise funds to be able to do that with, and Raymond is one of the towns
Yeah,
that
didn't
we
GP
have in
cog
mind.
do a community-wide survey on specifically
They
that
did,
topic
yes.
recently? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, but in terms of the campaign that, you know, the petition, that was really something that was out of our hands, and so not something that was it wasn't a strategy that we were using. And I think if, you know, what you saw in us was that we feel, you know, we can't really speak to it because it wasn't something that we were behind. I think, you know, we did follow up, and I think, you know, we didn't close the loop on scheduling something. I know we did send some emails, and I think that, you know, I think actually when that happened, it was also kind of like, oh, okay, how is this going to reflect on us? So, I mean, I think it can be tricky to be, you know, we want it to be something that's supported by the community, and we, you know, but that was an effort that was separate from RTP and GPCOG staff. So I don't know what else we can really say about it.
Yep. Thanks for answering that. Thanks.
Don't you also run a shuttle for grocery shopping over to Wyndham? Yeah, that's another service that they're providing that is not readily apparent here. That it does come to Avesta Housing
Yep.
right here in Raymond,
Yep.
and takes people to grocery shop once a week in Wyndham. I don't know if you were aware of that.
No,
Yep.
I recently had 2 people call me that live over on North Raymond Road. They said they got my number from the town office, but nobody knew there about it.
Yeah.
And they needed to go to Wyndham to get some stuff, and they had no way to get there. No, I was busy. No, I was busy.
You're not going to run your own volunteer
Well,
driver
no, I
service.
wasn't changing a diaper at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I knew one, but I didn't know the other one.
We could get them on the bus that takes, they go over to Wyndham. I think it's the Walmart, actually, once a week to that center in that area. And it's regularly scheduled out of the Avesta Housing. But see, they have like a resource officer that helps coordinate all this stuff for them.
Marshall.
You said that your ridership is up, and the numbers are showing that they're up slightly, but Raymond's ridership is actually down about 5% from last year. When you're looking at boardings FY17 to boardings FY18 is down about 5%, and it's still about 3 people a day. Second question I have, are you aware of that?
I'm not sure what you're looking at. Is
I'm
that
looking
what
at
you're
your
seeing
your
in the-
boarding numbers.
Yep, and for last year's, are you looking-
FY17 to FY18, they're down about 5%.
Are you looking at last year's funding request letter?
Yes,
Okay.
your budget presentation. for
Okay,
last
yeah, they're slightly different months, slightly different time periods,
year.
but
You've got FY to FY.
I would agree with you that, well, this year we did a rolling, so the letter went out in December, so we did November to December, I think.
Okay, let's move
So-
on, let's move on.
I understand that it is similar though in Raymond, could be slightly less.
Okay, it is slightly less. Are you
We
still
also,
charging-
I just want to point out that we also know that people who, residents of Raymond use the Wyndham stop and the Casco stop to access the bus. I mean, for some people, it's much closer. I know there are folks who walk from Raymond to the North Wyndham stop, for instance.
Well, that
But there
comment-
isn't a way to capture that in the data.
Okay, that comment takes away the argument that they can't get to the bus stop.
I'm not touching that one. I don't get it.
No, let's be
No,
honest
that's
here.
I'm just sitting there going, that's a long, good
Okay.
walk. You know,
Yeah,
especially
the
on
second
that
question I
highway,
have is the same, is the price the same from Bridgeton to Portland as it is to Raymond to Portland?
Yes.
Okay. The third question I have is, do you have an agreement with the current parking lot owner to park cars there in Raymond?
At Sunset Variety?
Yes.
Yeah,
You have an agreement with, a written agreement?
I believe so. It was before my time, but
Okay. And how long is that in effect? Is that a renewable or what is that?
I could look into it.
Okay. I'm done, Bill. Thanks.
Thank you, Marshall. Any other questions?
I would just add that when you look at average ridership per month, like some of the things I would consider is, okay, maybe it does average out over the year to 3 to 5 Raymond residents a month. Well, one is that it fluctuates greatly. So in the summer, you're going to get a lot more residents per month. What else is my other point? Well, two, I would say that the people that are using the bus really need to use the bus. And those are 3 to 5 very important people they're not just taking the bus. They're fulfilling their daily, the things that they need to get done. They're people that are elderly, people with disabilities, and they're Raymond residents. And it's also supporting the regional effort as well, and people in other communities. So
Maybe they're getting their Suboxone treatment, Marshall,
I don't know,
That's
Dan.
bad.
Could be, Dan.
So again, 1,748 people or 90 people, they're not all from Bridgeton. They come from that whole area out there to that particular bus stop. Same as you can look at, I'm sure every Raymond boarding is not a Raymond resident. Same with, and I know people that do go down to Casco because that end of town, it's easier for them to get to that bus stop than to come up here for this bus stop. So, I know ridership is always a tricky business.
I mean, I think the other thing that I just want to add is that, it is part of an overall picture of benefiting the Raymond economy, allowing older folks to age in place. We know, riding the bus last summer, there were young workers who were working at the Dunkin' Donuts in Raymond who were using the bus. So I think there's a whole range of folks who are utilizing it, and for, when people are picking a place to live, I think, it does make a big difference in whether or not it has public transportation.
Thank you, Rick and Zoe. Do we have a representative from American Legion? Do we have a representative from Raymond Baseball and Softball?
We had,
I wonder if we could back up, Bob.
Yes,
What is the request from the American Legion?
page
$400.
62.
$400 for flags? Thank you. Maybe you could call that out, Bob.
Excuse me?
Maybe you could call that out, please. Going forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Raymond Baseball, Softball.
Members of the Finance Committee, members of the Select Board. My name's Sarah Davis. I live on Tenny Hill Road here in Raymond, Maine. So I'll be paying a lot of attention to plowing. I'll just tell you that. Probably the worst place in Raymond to plow. I am here tonight because Joe Troiano, who is the director of Raymond Baseball Softball, is in a baseball softball meeting out of town, which is where he should be. So our request is the same as last year. We are requesting $2,000. The request from the town helps fund our programs. Certainly it helps with uniforms and equipment and things to get the fields ready, and the town generally maintains the fields, but we obviously have to do a lot of work out there as well, lining the fields and different things. So that's our request. It's remained flat year over year, and we hope that you'll fund it. Any questions?
Yeah, how many kids participate in your program?
So we do not have final numbers because it has not
Sure.
closed this year. We're still doing signups.
Yeah.
I would say last year it was about around 200, yeah. So there's a lot of kids. I mean, baseball, softball has been declining, but that's just as a result of so many activities. We have managed to keep the program healthy here. We've made a switch in baseball this year, going to Little League, moving out of Cal Ripken and then moving into Little League, and that offers greater flexibility to the program. We're really excited about that. We're doing some different age levels and kind of keeping the numbers low so kids get a lot of playing time. They really get to experience it. Baseball, softball with this generation can be a little slow, so we're trying to keep them engaged as much as they can in that program. I also would like to, if there's no questions on baseball, softball, just speak for a minute on Raymond Rec. I'm not the representative, but I don't know if I should wait till the end, but I want to speak as a citizen.
Sure. We have someone speaking for
Yeah,
Raymond
we
Rec,
have,
but
yeah.
if you
Oh.
want to say something about it.
Oh, okay. Did Beth send somebody?
Well,
I got it.
No, I got a question though.
Beth Clark.
Oh, okay. Beth said she
Hold
couldn't
on.
be here, and so she said, anyway. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
The lighting on the field, I know that's a project that's ongoing. What's status on that? Is it, are they still taking donations? Is there a plan?
I might have
It'd be
to phone-
nice because
I might have to phone a friend.
now that you're Little League, which is great,
Yes.
I'm happy for that.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Yes.
I know it's something we're working on. We continue to collect money and raise money for that. In addition, I know that we're looking at one of the fields that needs some work. We don't know what the scope of that project will be until we get somebody out there, and obviously the snow has to go away to understand the scope of that. But one of the fields is really wet and will need some work. So those are two things that we continue to work on. We hope to fundraise. We certainly may come to the town for some support, some matching support or something like that.
So is there a specific funding mechanism for lighting? Or just general?
There's not a line item in the budget for that,
Okay.
as I understand.
All right.
As we use the surplus, but we, you know, it's our desire to have the kids.
Because I'd like to see it, I'd like to see it happen at some point, you know,
absolutely.
sooner than later. Not that I care, I don't have any kids in that age anymore, but I do care because, you know, it's nice to have night games. The kids like it, and I think it'd be good for that area of town anyway.
Yes,
It'd make that area a little safer too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it makes it more fun for everyone. So, just one moment on the Raymond Rec. So I know Beth sent it in. She had a personal emergency, and so she's unable to be here. And so I certainly don't speak for her or speak on behalf of them. But I do speak as a citizen and somebody who's actively engaged in all the Raymond Rec sports. And I hope you continue to fund these things. I think it's important for our community, for young and aging families. I think we're lucky here in Raymond. We don't have a paid rec department. This is all handled by volunteers for the most part. And I think, you know, sort of what I consider meager funding request, $2,000 here and there, is something the town should support and continue to keep those programs active. I think the volunteers put in a lot of time and effort and fund the programs in other ways. And so I hope that you support that. It's important to me, it's important to my kids, and it's important to all the kids I see around here. All of our programs, we give out scholarships upon request. Nobody is ever turned away to play that I'm aware of. Any request is granted, and we make sure everyone in this town participates at the level in which they can. So that's my
That
secret.
will be on the agenda for the next budget meeting, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. I think there's a couple others too that may want to speak on Raymond Rec.
Do you mind?
That money that you're requesting for Raymond Rec, that
Yes.
goes directly to, for the mowing at Agawam.
So there is a portion that goes to the, for the soccer program that goes
Yeah.
to the mowing at Agawam. We've asked to supplement that with a little more money that will help the other programs. We have basketball, we have swimming, we have soccer. So it supports all of those programs.
I'm gonna read the letter. That
Yeah,
way
that would be great.
it'll cover more. That
Well, I
way-
just saw that letter,
Yeah.
Sheila
Um,
just showed me that letter, and
I
I
talked to
didn't
Beth
know that.
earlier.
Good idea.
I talked to Beth earlier today, and she just said, because this is coming from her, and it'll break it down a little bit different that's in here. She says, basically, we have our normal request for the $2,000 for mowing costs for Agawam. This year, we have requested an additional $2,000 to help with the insurance costs, which are $4,600. We are actively looking at ways to try to reduce those costs, such as obtaining quotes, but those have to be done at the time of renewal. We are looking closely at all of our programs to make sure they are fiscally sound and covering as much, if not all of their program costs, and even looking to local sponsors. Our revenue at the time the submission to the board was sent shows $2,500 in the positive. What that does not reflect in our expenses for both the basketball and the ski programs. Those expenses will drive us in a negative number at the end of the year. It is hard to estimate exactly where we will be at the end of the fiscal year because of the gym usage fees to the school district. Those fees don't usually come to us until the end of March. Raymond Rec Association has been providing recreational activities at a lower cost than most local surrounding town-funded recreation departments. We had about 300 participants over all of our programs in 2018-19, with students from grade K through 6th grade being the primary group we work with. We make this happen with volunteers from the community. We are grateful for the town's past support and hope we can support again this year requests. And it's one of the things I know too, is I know the RSU has recently put out
facilities use
A
policy.
fee schedule, it's that, you use the field, you use anything, there is a fee for it. So using the basketball gym, but they've always had some kind of a fee on Saturdays for basketball, and that was more just to cover the custodian. But it wasn't, it was just his salary, but it's up to more.
How much is
You know
it?
from watching it.
I can speak to that. I can speak directly
Yeah,
to
I
that.
don't
So, with respect to the facilities, for basketball, they allow us to use the facilities during the week because they already have janitorial
Yeah.
coverage, so there's no cost. On Saturdays, it used to be, I believe it's either $50 or $75, and it used to be an unlocking and locking fee. Now, with the change to the most recent school facilities use policy, it went to a per hour. So if we start at 9 a.m., because we play a number of games in a row on a Saturday, if we start at 9 a.m. and go until 2 p.m., which is pretty typical, we're paying for every hour in there, whereas the previous year we were only paying for essentially 2 hours for opening and closing. And it is, as stated by the RSU, to cover the janitor for being there the entire time.
Can you play your games during the week?
We
you
could be
tried that?
really difficult. We can
I
hardly fit them in
understand.
for
I was a
practice.
coach and I
Yeah.
did the basketball and the soccer and all that.
Yeah.
They also
So-
have to do the school games, is what's happening. It's like
Yeah.
the
Yes.
school fields, they have to get the school teams in first because it's technically their fields.
Yeah, so this year we had to make some adjustments. Some of the baskets weren't working at the school, and so we had to move into using our RES for the first time, so we use both facilities. We also moved our K2 program out of Saturdays and into the weekdays, which cut down on the time that we needed the gym on the weekends. So we've done things to be fiscally responsible, but we had huge numbers this year, which is really, really exciting. And as a result, just scheduling all the time for all these teams, and as Teresa points out, watching out for JSMS when they have their middle school games. We can't start until after
Now,
they
what are
finish.
the dues for a student to play basketball, soccer?
It's $35 for basketball. It was $50 with a uniform, but this year we got sponsors to cover the uniform, so we kept it down to $35, which is really inexpensive.
Yeah.
We talk occasionally about whether upping that or not, but we really do want to keep it affordable.
Well, you got to keep cover your expenses as well too.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
keep coming, to taxpayers and asking, and there's a fee, and I don't have a problem with what you're asking for, but it's just at some point, you got to pay to play. It just unfortunately and you do have scholarships.
Sure.
For the kids that can't afford it, there are people that will step up and pay for them.
Sure, and I absolutely appreciate that, but I would say on the flip side, you have what I consider, the most conservative rec budget I've seen
Oh,
anywhere. All the other towns have paid rec departments.
I understand that.
These
Pat
people do
Smith
it by
ran-
volunteer.
Pat
so-
Smith ran that rec program for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
She
Yep.
used to run the citrus program for the skiing and
Sure.
swimming, and
Sure.
she did a great job.
Sure.
Countless hours that woman gave
Yeah.
to this town.
Yeah.
And
And
I
so
don't
do
know
all
if we
these- so do
I don't
all
know
these
if we
people
ever
now.
thanked her, but I'm thanking her right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and so do all these people now. I just think it's small fees, and for anyone who's been skiing lately, I'm sure you know the astronomical cost, and we're able to keep that pretty low, and we operate on a really thin budget, but I do think the request.
Now, do you still have to rent a bus for skiing?
Yes, there is a bus rented, but this year they consolidated the two programs so that the middle school and the younger kids were going up the same day, so you reduced
Well,
the
that's
time the
gonna
bus
be
had to go.
expensive, too.
Yep. Yep.
Now,
So-
what kind of bus are you using?
I think it's a school bus.
Is it a school bus?
It's a school bus.
It's a school
Yeah,
bus.
it's a school bus. They carry the skis in a different one because of liability issues. You can't have the skis in the bus. Yeah,
It was in the school budget.
so,
Yeah.
Any other questions? Baseball, softball, Raymond Rec?
and there are others that want to speak. I don't know when the appropriate time is, but I didn't want to cut them short.
I welcome them to speak, but please be brief.
I'm Dan Sweat. I was the director of the soccer program for Raymond Rec for the last 4 years. This is Mark Anderson. He's taking over for me in the next year. So the soccer program has consistently about 100 students or more, players or more, from year to year. And we really need that $2,000 to help pay for the mowing at the Agawam fields.
What they do with that big hill down there? So I'm taking that
Yeah, I
hump
noticed,
out.
yeah,
It was all dirt.
They didn't tell me about it.
That's loam from the school that when we built that school across the street. That's all loam.
Well, I laughed as you can see him just digging into him. I get, oh, that's really nice
They're
dirt.
selling it. They're making a lot of money on it.
Wow. That big hill, the kids like to run down it.
Any questions for Raymond Soccer? Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Raymond Rattler Snowmobile Club requesting $1,600, page 65.
Good evening. I'm Larry Wood. I'm the Vice President and Treasurer of the Raymond Rattlers, and we're doing the same request as we did last year. And if there's any questions.
Somebody posted on Facebook that if they didn't need to go up north to go snowmobiling because they said the trails down here were awesome, the way that they were
Okay.
maintained and kept up, and he was on a snowmobile
Yeah.
taking it. So good job.
We got a lot of volunteers that are really stepping up this year and
Good.
doing some fundraising and, yeah, having a good time.
Good, Sheila.
I'm just trying to understand your budget. And with what you presented to us, it looks like your expenses here are $10,550 is what you showed us at the town level. With the memberships, both business and personal, and the town's 2,000, that still leaves you $7,100 to raise. How do you raise that money?
We do get a grant from the state for doing the grooming and brushing and stuff like that, which is only about half of that.
Okay, so
And the rest of it-
yeah, I don't see how you raise your money. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
So you
we
get
have
a
to apply
grant
for
for
that.
half of
We
that.
have to apply for that and
Right.
do all the paperwork, and everyone's a volunteer. We donate all our time, and we also get a lot of donations from businesses, in-state, out-of-state, local people.
So you raise the additional 7,100 through grants?
Nope, just one
No,
grant.
One grant and private donations.
Plus the private donations, and yeah.
Do your members have dues?
Yes, we have membership dues.
So that's a revenue source
We're
as
tied in
well.
with the Maine Snowmobile Association, which is 300 clubs in Maine. So we give some of that money we get from the memberships to them as well, and they help us cover some insurances, and we get discounts on some things too. Yeah.
That's all I was trying to figure it out.
Any other questions? Don?
Comment, I just want to say that it's not, as I've said in prior years, previous years, it's not just about snowmobiling. The trails are open for people to cross-country ski on. I see dog sleds out there, sliding, walking, snowshoeing. So, maybe that's not the intent, but they are, used by folks other than snowmobilers. So when we were snowmobiling, we saw lots of other folks out there, and so it was good to see that, and the trails here and in the general area are well maintained.
I would just appreciate, maybe in future years, if we would have more of an income expense, just so that we could get a full picture
Okay.
of how you operate.
Yep.
For example, you pay Gorham Savings $600 a year for what?
I don't know what paperwork you're looking at.
Just your letter. I think
the
it's the
letter
name
that
alone
you sent
on
us.
your snowmobile.
You guys bought machinery, I thought. I think you mentioned it last year. Didn't you just buy a new? last
Yes,
year you
and that,
mentioned-
well, you'd have to look at the paper. I don't have that copy of that.
It's okay, but maybe in the future, you could just kind of be a little bit more detailed.
Okay, that's fine.
Rolf?
I mean, if memory serves me correct, we're projecting $2,100 in income on snowmobile registrations. The whole purpose behind that from the state was that money go back into the local snowmobile clubs to use towards trail maintenance and things like that. So we're bringing in $2,100, but they're only asking for $1,600. So I mean, they're not even taking all that they're really entitled to from what the state registration fees are designed for.
They're making money for us. That's what Keith mentioned last year
Yeah.
too at the comment. So technically out of $2,300, the people that registered last year, they took $1,600. So Raymond benefited $700 off of that.
Yeah, we asked for an increase a couple of times, but then they said keep it the same, and so we did. But we appreciate any extra help we get on our expenses.
I thought this was to be treated as a wash item.
That's how we had a couple, when I first got on, it was a wash.
We don't really know, we don't know beforehand what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
so
one
it's hard to
season
put a
to
number
next.
on it.
Do we have a separate account that it's put into? Like any money that comes in for snowmobile? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
I
just,
didn't mean
it's
to speak
not,
up, sorry.
there's a revenue account, so, and it's the only thing in there, sure.
Okay, sorry, Bob.
Anything else with snowmobile? Go right ahead.
My name's Keith Thomas. I'm sorry. I live at 13 Woodland Road in Raymond, Maine, and I know we're asking for $1,600, but the town is going to get some of that back because we do have a piece of property we pay tax on. So I think the taxes on there are like $400 or something.
Yeah, $350.
Yeah.
Any questions? Thank you, Larry and Keith.
Yep.
Raymond Casco Historical Society requesting $1,800, page 77.
Good evening. My name is Ingo Hartig. I live on Oakledge Road in Raymond, Maine. And I would like to thank you for starters for past support. Again, we're here for $1,800 for the Raymond Museum, the Casco Museum. We are collecting heirlooms from this area and families. We're looking for your support.
Go ahead, Sheila.
How much does Casco kick in?
Same amount.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mark.
There was some insurance recoveries from the burnt schoolhouse
Yes.
that been rebuilt.
This schoolhouse has been totally rebuilt, now totally has been rebuilt. We still have to do sheetrock work and other items such as electricity.
Okay.
And yeah, it's looking good.
Where's the final resting place for that building? Where's it gonna
It's
go?
right next to the museum building,
It's
about
good, okay.
50, 20 feet.
Because it was up in,
Yeah, it was up there.
it was up in Casco when it went
Well,
down, yeah.
the intent was that they were gonna move it down
Yeah,
there.
I know that. I just wondered if it made it down there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ingo.
That building didn't make it, obviously, but the replica is in
Yeah.
place. It really looks great. And as far as Casco goes, I think Casco was going to pay to move it, the original
Yes.
building, but that unfortunately was prevented through the vandalism and the fire. But so Casco and Raymond both, I think, have been good supporters.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Raymond Waterways requesting $16,000, page 78.
Excuse me. Neil Jensen, 315 Meadow Road. I'm president of Raymond Waterways. In the broadest scope of things, we're concerned with invasive aquatic species, mostly plants right now, but there are invasive animals on the horizon that we have to watch for too. We deal with prevention of new infestations and removal of existing infestations, education. We also provide support for the lake associations and individual waterfront property owners for issues dealing with water quality. In case anybody missed the news, in the past 2 years there have been 3 new invasive plant infestations discovered in Maine. There was the variable leaf milfoil, which is what we have in Sebago, appeared in Long Lake. And then a different kind of milfoil, the Eurasian water milfoil, was found in Cobbessicani, and while they were working on that, they also found European frogbit. Most people in Maine aren't familiar with that. This is the first time it's appeared here. These things are of concern to us for a couple of reasons. First of all, these lakes are too close for us to ignore. When we do the courtesy boat inspections of the boat ramps in Raymond, one of the questions we ask the boat owners is, where did you have this boat last? Where was it last in the water before today? And last year, 41 times when we asked that question, the answer was either Long Lake or Cobbessy. So we're well within threatening range for those. The other effect of this is that it means there are 2 more lakes that are going to be looking for money for courtesy boat inspection programs and removal programs from a very limited pool of money from DEP. I don't know about the courtesy boat inspection program yet, but I do already know that our share of the DEP funds for plant removal is going to be pretty close to $3,000 less this year than last year. Because the infestations keep growing and the money doesn't. The money comes from the stickers that you put on your boat, and the total registrations for Maine are pretty much flat. So more and more of us are chasing smaller and smaller amounts of money. The courtesy boat inspectors are our best and first line of defense. And I think we're seeing that that's having a good effect, both in that when the boat owners drive up to the boat ramps, they know what we're doing. Most of them are cooperative. The education end of this effort has really done a good job. Most of them are inspecting their own boats, so we're finding fewer and fewer plants. And we're also finding fewer and fewer plants on the boats that come out of Sebago, which indicates to me that our removal efforts are doing a good job. There are fewer plants out there choking the coves to be caught on the boats and brought into shore. The problem, biggest problem that we're facing now and did last year is getting enough people to do the jobs. If you drove around town last summer, or anywhere around southern Maine, you probably saw help wanted signs everywhere. And I expect the same is going to be true this year. So if you know anybody of any age who is looking for some fun summer work, outdoors, part-time, the boat inspectors work mostly weekends and holidays. The removal crew, the dash crew we call it, does weekday work, mostly in the water. And in both cases, we're increasing the pay rates this year. I don't think that's going to be enough to get us the workers we need, but it's about all that we can control. So, all of that being said, this year, for the second year in a row, we're asking for less money than we did the year before, and that's something of a gamble on my part, but one that I'm comfortable with. It's because we have made progress with the plant removal. We've got 3 areas that are basically clean. We know we have to keep going back there because we miss one route or a fragment floats in from the lake. We know we're going to keep finding plants there, but 3 of those areas are clear. The Birch Canal in Bayview is very close to that condition.
We've got a couple of areas we still need to treat. But we have to work very carefully there because we need to be sure that we're not in the way of the fire rescue boat, which is parked at the end of the canal there. I want to be sure that we're never in the way of their getting out and hurt. The beach canal, which has been just chock-a-block for many, many years. We've been working our way in. We've placed over 100 tarps in that canal, and every year we move them a little farther in. Plus we have to do handwork along the sides. Either this year or next year, we'll finally get to the very end of that canal. It'll be the first time that that has been free, been boatable, swimmable in 50 years. I don't know, except more
Long time.
before my time. Also, I like to think that the Raymond Waterways Board has gotten more effective, more efficient in using the funds that we have. And I do have to give a lot of credit to the board. 7 people who are really dedicated and have probably thought they were signing up to sit around a table and talk about things. Have been allowed me to push them into doing a lot of things that we otherwise would have had to hire out. And they have, I believe, become much smarter in choosing which projects, which equipment will actually be effective, what's worth paying for. I would love to tell you about several projects that we're doing, but I won't. If you catch me around town sometime having coffee, ask me about the project that we're doing in conjunction with Panther Pond Association, Portland Water District, and Bates College, learning to do some advanced water quality testing to make that available to the lake associations. I'd like to tell you about the smartphone app that we've developed to improve the reporting of the boat inspections that other people, including DEP, have tried to come up with and don't seem to have managed yet, but we're doing pretty well with it. I'd love to tell you about the mysterious affair of the freshwater barnacles, but you don't want me to go on tonight. So, any questions that I can answer?
Sure, Neil. How many boats do you have in your, or do you have a fleet?
We have a fleet of 2. One is a 20-foot pontoon, which has the suction gear on it, and the other is a 12-foot open sort of fisherman thing that we use for going up the river. And I should say also, one of the things that has made us more efficient is the contributions from the town and from some private parties have allowed us to upgrade our equipment. So we're spending a lot less time dealing with cranky equipment and more time actually out on the job.
We're pleased to provide support for the fleet and storage for the fleet at Public Works.
Any other questions?
Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Neil. Hawthorne Community Association requesting $1,000, page 79.
Hi, my name's Abel Bates. I live on the Cape Road, and I'm one of the trustees of the Hawthorne Community Association. I'd like to thank you for your past support and hope that you will continue it. The $1,000 that we've been getting has been a huge help in getting our finances a little better off. So we're at the situation now where we can pay our bills and we can build up a little capital reserve account so that when we need to paint the place, put a roof on it and so forth, we are getting there. We have a couple of major projects coming up that we're working on over the next 3 years, I would expect. I mean, that's our time frame on this. And For those, we'll be needing some substantial funds, and we're hoping to get some grants and donations on that. We're also trying to do a little more with the community. We're working with Raymond Arts. They've had a couple of functions over there last year, and they've approached us about doing some more. We have talked with folks at the library as well. And if you have any questions in particulars, I'd be glad to try to answer them. And if I can't, one of these other two trustees might be able to.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Abel Bates. Yep.
Abel Bates. Any questions for Abel?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pass me that.
Are there any other provider agencies waiting to present?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to, let's go to animal control, page 18.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jessica Jackson. I'm your animal control officer. I've been serving the town of Raymond for, I believe we're going on 8 years now.
So there's a significant difference in change, and it has to do with the fact that we're working with, I think, very closely and cooperatively with Casco and Naples. We're taking the position, hopefully, to a full-time position. It has been approved in those towns preliminarily, of course, subject to town meeting. It is an increase. I would tell you that the visibility that we've been able to achieve with the animal control car is, I think, a significant improvement. As Jessica indicated, she's been 8 years working for us, and that's, I think, something of a record. And she's done a great job. And so the consensus of opinion amongst the town managers is that, you know, to some degree, you get what you pay for. And we feel that the level of work and activity is sufficient to support a full-time job, and that's the best solution for our communities, and we're hoping that you will support it. And so that's the big difference here. It is an increase, it is a change, but it's taking it from a part-time job and to a full-time job with the town of Casco benefit package.
I like how she started, he did her description in her speech for you.
Well, she looked at me and I was thinking,
I know.
Is that what you were looking for?
I wasn't sure what level of participation you were expecting from me, because every town,
the other
every town is different.
In the other
so-
towns, she didn't have to make a presentation, I guess it was.
Naples I did.
Oh, you did in Naples,
did,
okay, so
yes.
I thought you were looking at me to do something, so I did something.
Direction. Direction.
Okay.
We
So-
work well together.
Yeah, so anyway, that's it in a nutshell. That's the change, that's the difference.
Yep.
Marshall?
This is a $66,000 package of which we're taking a third. Is that what I'm looking at here? Roughly.
Correct.
It also
Roughly.
includes an additional part-time officer also.
Was that you, Kathy?
Not me.
What are they gonna drive?
I would be no good
They,
at it.
we were able to acquire from the state of Maine a 2015?
2014.
2014
Yeah.
Ford Explorer. It was outfitted already for canine officer use. So basically, it's got the two front seats. The rest of it has been, you know, basically stripped out. It's aligned with aluminum, and it has caging.
That's the towns.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, what about this, what about the part-time is what I'm asking, what's the part-timer gonna drive?
It's allotted in there for some mileage for their
Okay.
vehicles. It would be a limited a limited thing as far as I'm concerned. I'll remain on as the animal control officer, and this would just to be fill-in, maybe to answer some the phones, field some calls for me, give me a break, so if I did want to go to dinner or something, I could do that without having to worry that something was going to happen in town, or, yeah, and if it's an emergency at that point, then I could go out. You know, if she was to call, she or he was to call, and if it was something that couldn't wait for me, then they would at that time use that expenditure to be able to go.
The other thing I wanted to say that's important is that if you think it's hard to find somebody to sit at the beach and check for milfoil, you should try to find someone to be your animal control officer. Basically, we've had approaches from all of our surrounding towns for a piece of Jessica and to work with us, but we've determined that we can't take on any more capacity with the staffing as it is. It may be a possibility in the future to look at additional towns. But right now, it doesn't make any sense to go beyond Casco, Naples, and Raymond. And you may have seen the car. It's lettered that way, and I think it's very visible. And I think she's done a good job, and I think it's time that we did this.
Between the three towns, we have an area of 150 square miles, and in fair weather, which I would consider our busiest times, we're serving about 60,000 people between the three. So, or actually, no, it's a lot more than that. It's like 60,000 here, isn't it? Just in...
No, we're about
No, 12. We're about 12.
But I mean, talking summer population?
But Naples.
Summer population.
Yeah. Winter-
So, yeah, you
winter,
can
3,200,
quadruple
summer,
that.
5,000.
I think we're getting it done. We're doing...
And she's provided support for major events. The most notable, I think, is the Blues Festival and in Naples. So you were very visible there, and it's a place where there are many animal complaints and issues. We don't have an event of that type at this point, but so I did hear some positive reviews and reports from that. You work closely and cooperatively with the sheriff's office, and and you're open to any and all complaints. I remember one citizen made a lost rabbit complaint, and you didn't want to do it, but you did it, and we got that one resolved.
It made the stat sheet. The rabbit made the stat sheet.
Oh, did it? Yeah. Well, that was me, because I didn't want to see the rabbit perish in the backyard. It turned out that the rabbit had escaped from a couple little girls several streets down the... Anyway, long story short, she helped, along with our state representative, to connect the rabbit with owners. So, but you didn't want to come do my rabbit, but we got you there.
I was kind of dreading it.
Yeah.
It's hard to catch a rabbit.
Well, they're veterans, Stu.
Rolf.
I'm assuming that the animal welfare is replacing the contract fee and services. That's just the fees that we're paying to the...
Yes.
That is the fees.
The shelter.
That's the shelter.
Okay.
And any there's a small bit of it that's for if we need emergency animal services.
I have one question, please. Are you allowed to be armed?
No. Not, well, that would be up to the town.
That's a no. We had that question a long time ago, Dana, and my answer to that is no.
Now, would you go to a call, Don, on a mean dog?
I would call the sheriff as a backup.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
So you call somebody that had a gun.
Me personally, no, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
But if I were Jessica and I suspected that, I believe you work very closely with the sheriff.
The sheriff's calling me for the mean dogs.
Yeah, because,
Yeah. It's more the people I worry about.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But we're making improvements here. We now have access to Spillman. We do have a computer that we're getting and all that good stuff for the car. So instead of me showing up at somebody's house and then realizing in hindsight that maybe I shouldn't have been there, which happens quite often, without a deputy, now I can enter in the address before I go there, and it will at least trigger that there might be something I want to call in for to find out more information, which is great. So I mean, we're definitely making these steps in the right direction.
So you have that on your
Right.
side.
One thing I'd like to see at some point is trying to find some airspace for a radio.
Yeah.
Just so in case I'm in an area where the phones don't come in. So that's also
Good luck
another
with
thing
that.
we'll be looking at.
Teresa.
Do you get reimbursed for some of this? I mean, when you track the person down, the owner, for some of the monies that cost, like the fees. Does that make sense? Like the animal welfare fees. Like if you have to catch a dog and you take them down and they charge the town, but come to find out that the owner picks them up later.
We get impound fees. Yes,
Okay.
and we actually have some of the most strict impound fees across the board for Cumberland County.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I believe we start at 50, the second impoundment is 75, and the third is 100. And I'm all for that. But that would mean that I'm actually getting them to the shelter. A lot of times what happens through the powers of social media is somebody hears that the ACO has already picked up the dog, they get a hold of me, and I can be pulling in the driveway. Legally, I have to return the dog to the owner if the owner is known. And at that point, that's when I could fine them for a dog at large. But a lot of times it's not reoccurring.
Okay.
You know, so. And I think going in together like this would make it a lot easier for me, honestly, to kind of regulate things evenly across the board. Instead of doing 3 different things 3 different ways, everything's kind of done the same, you know.
I don't necessarily have a question for you, Jessica, but I'm gonna look at these guys here and at the benefits package for health insurance. I mean, I don't see us doing anything that close for our employees in our town.
That's correct.
Excuse me?
Not at, that is correct, not at that price. That's a totally different plan.
I believe it's the Casco plan.
It's the Casco.
Is it?
Casco,
Yes,
Casco
plan.
has the MMA #1 plan, and so of course, you know, that's something that, you know, I suppose, you know, you could just debate and decide on a different plan, but, you know, if you had an opportunity to work for one of the 3 towns, you'd probably pick Casco from a benefit plan standpoint. But I guess that's something that can be discussed, obviously, but, and that MMA #1 plan, you can't enter it now, it's not available. You know, Dave doesn't know how much longer Casco will offer it, but as long as he's there, he has supported it and it has been funded. But it's not something that you can get in the free world anymore.
Casco's also where I started. It's my hometown, and it's central. So that's why I kind of gravitated to Casco.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we'll do technology, page 15.
Kevin Woodbury, 20 Egypt Road, just around the corner. So I can really respond fast. Or I can send Eric out.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
So there's a few major, if you've read the overview, a few changes that we had this year that we're looking at. The biggest one was moving, in my mind, is moving which we should have done a long time ago, is moving the expense of electricity and the heat out of it, because that's not part of technology. Taking that out of our budget and putting it into
Town
the
buildings.
town buildings
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
where
Everyone
all the rest of them
Yeah.
are. And so we decreased it there, and then I'm adding another 2,000 in because what we call the intrusion protection software, which is an annual budget for, it's sort of like your antivirus. You know, every year you pay for all the signatures, files, the same thing with the intrusion protection, but that runs actually on the firewall. So anybody trying to get in, it looks at the stream of data coming in. It also looks at the stream of data coming out from the inside. So if they see something that matches, if there's a computer that got infected or somebody was trying to do something, it would recognize that stream and flag it, and we try to resolve what the issue was. So anyway, that's where the bigger expense was coming from there. The public safety, their laptops are ancient, over 10 years old now. We've put 2 new ones in this year, and it came out of the regular normal upgrade budget, but we really need to address the rest of those, and then they can fall into the normal upgrade cycle after that.
Now, do they budget for that?
No, that comes out of my budget. And that is going to be in a CIP portion of the request.
Okay.
So that, and then, like I say, normally we get 2 to 3 a year for them, and the same thing with the town office side, coming out of the normal technology budget. Although theirs cost a lot more than the town's, about twice as much as what the fallen ones cost. The ruggedized ones just, are really expensive. The next line item, which is another CIP request, and if you look at the backside, I think Don said that we'd probably go over 2 years to get the CIP funding for that. What we're proposing is we have no off-site backup for the server down at the fire station right now. We have backups on-site, so we have the server, then we have a backup server, and we provide that. But if they lose, that closet, then we've lost everything. Up here, we do it between the town office and this building, through the fiber that we put in, but,
Well, there's no fiber down there.
No fiber down there. And so what we're proposing is to put fiber from the town office, and since we're doing that, we can hit the fire station, we can hit the library, we can hit Nathan's work down there, his garage down there, and we can hit the fire station. And we could also pick up the field down there. And so we could put cameras in the field if we want to.
Who's gonna pick that up? The phone company or that fiber line or?
That fiber line would be a privately owned line by us.
Now who would install that?
Well, we got a quote from Maincom out of Portland, and that was just a placeholder quote.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can make it better than that, but that was their quote.
We have a small fiber network already that connects the two schools.
Well, we put in like
I'm
years
saying
ago.
we have a small fiber
Right.
network already.
Right.
Connects the two
Yeah.
schools, this building and the town office.
Right. So this end of town is all set, but the problem is we need to get a backup. And then what we would do is actually we take this little server rack out of here and put it down the fire station. Instead of having 3 locations with servers, we just have 2. And so that would help, reduce some of the costs there also. But it would give us better separation for off-site backups in addition.
Now, if you do run that line, can you pick up somebody else on the way by? And that sounds expensive to do. That's what I'm saying.
It is, and because this would be like a private intranet. That's just the way we put it. Yeah,
I know what it is.
Yeah,
it's what I do with it.
Yeah, so, and you could, depending on the number of fibers and all that, but I don't think we want to get, there's this other projects, they're going, like, what's the, GWI.
GWI.
We're looking at trying to get fiber in for everybody, which, would be really nice and help out a lot. I don't know if, people that have home offices like I do and support, this town and other towns, and just trying to pull big files over and be responsive is really hard over Spectrum.
It takes time.
Yeah, it's really hard through Spectrum. And one of the things that we, on this proposal too, is in my home office, when Spectrum goes down, we have a small tower with an antenna that goes to Verizon, so I flip over to them when Spectrum goes down, and I actually get a better quality of service from them, but it's much more expensive, obviously, doing wireless. But I have in here included a wireless backup for the town, this end of town, and a wireless backup for that end of town. So if it goes down in the middle, or if the whole system goes down, we can at least have backup for the phones getting out through the regular, business network. I think that was it for the big changes. Any questions on that or the overall budget?
Marshall?
Just understand, I was a little cloudy on this. You intend on running cable from the town office to the library?
Down by the library, so we figured we could pick up the library.
Okay, so that's a couple of miles, that's not a few.
No, the distance, right. We would run down 302, over through Mill Street and over to the, so since they're there, we figured we pick all.
No, it makes sense to do
Yeah.
that, I just wasn't clear in my mind.
It's
how far you were going.
4.3 miles.
From the fire department?
From to here, that's a long ways.
Man, okay, thanks.
So that, it sounds, it is a lot of money too, to do that,
Yeah.
but once it's in place, it gives us, a high-speed network that we need internally to do the backups.
Okay. Do we have to lease on the poles, or is that?
No, I think we're allowed to attach, and there would be an ongoing maintenance, whoever, we decide to maintain that fee on a monthly basis. But we will be cutting out a few expenses that we have, because we wouldn't have Spectrum, we'd have one connection to Spectrum, which would service all the municipal buildings. So that would help us, you know, reduce the cable, the 3 cable modems would go away.
Consolidated can't do anything.
We went to Consolidated, and they wanted, just for the public safety building, $1,600 a month for only 100 megabit service. It was, well, we're paying $1,200 a month, you know, for Spectrum here. So it's, yeah. That's why we're really hoping to get somebody that can, you know, put in a municipal network like GWI, and then maybe pay, you know, $500 or $600 a month to have, you know, symmetrical gigabit service.
Marshall?
If we down the road do connect to GWI or whatever, whoever servicing is coming in, would this connect to that?
This we'd use the same connection. We have like just one connection point, and then still keep our internal network.
Okay.
Right, so we don't only have to have one connection point.
The broadband survey that went out just recently, how could we, this would be an intranet, there wouldn't be anything that would,
Well, that's what you were just saying. Yeah, we'd use them if they came, and we'd get a gigabit service to connect to our intranet and service all the buildings that way. So it'd still save us money if we had it in place. You could probably do what we did, and then you'd have to balance what the price would be to have the multiple modems if through them versus having our own internal. Because what we're doing right now is a virtual private network over Spectrum. So we have cable modems each place, and we've created a virtual network over their network, which is, again, horrible service, horrible response times.
When he says horrible service, he means horrible service.
I mean,
We're on a Friday and they shut off the public safety building.
3 times they've done this.
Yeah, 3 times. So then I have to call somebody at a very, very high level and really raise hell to get a response, which we get reconnected, and it was quite stressful.
They don't even answer your email.
Just call animal control.
Even with our,
You know, God damn it.
our voice over IP service, which we use Otelco for, the connection between Spectrum and Otelco is so bad, it causes issues. You know, the phones, sometimes you'll get, you know, lines busy. And it's not because there isn't enough bandwidth, it's called what's called latency, which means it takes so long for that packet to get there, it times out. It's not that I can't have a lot of data flowing back and forth, it's just how long it takes in an individual piece of data to get there. And that latency issue, and I swear that they do it on purpose when they connect to other vendors. So it forces, you know, people to go just with them. Since they're deregulated, they can do that stuff.
No competition.
Yeah, none, 0. Anyway, any other questions?
Don't want to get your blood pressure
Kevin,
going here, Kevin.
I cut the cord from Spectrum. How can I watch town events?
Well, you still have cable.
I have internet.
You have internet. As long as you have
Wi-Fi
internet,
streaming.
you can get to the town events. It's all from the website. Streams live, and meetings are repeated. You can go and you can click on any meeting that we've had in the past, and it'll play right there for you. Because what we do, we're really lucky that, you know, I mean, you hate people like YouTube, but they host all of our videos for free. And literally, we have thousands of gigabytes of video out there from all of our meetings, and it doesn't cost us anything.
So that's YouTube.
That's YouTube. So
Not
you go,
YouTube TV, YouTube.
no, just straight
just
YouTube.
free
You don't have to have
YouTube.
YouTube TV. You just go to the town link and go to IPTV, drop down and go to archives, and you can get any meeting right there.
Right, you want to go to the Insomniac channel.
That's what Kevin Oliver is doing right now. Kevin Oliver's doing it right now, watching it from New York, this meeting, so he can keep up to it.
So I would say
Channel
we've been,
1301, you mean?
No,
we've
actually,
been very
he's
fortunate
using
in
it
that
online.
regard.
The internet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, cool. Because he cut them.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
He's a brave man.
And general assistance, page 26.
Okay, general assistance, we're looking for the we're looking for $8,000, which, you're saying no change?
It's no change from last year.
Right. A change from the year prior, but not last year, right?
Right.
Got it. You throw me off with your single digits. I like my FY 18, 19, 19, 20. But I'm a simple person, so. Anyway, no change.
Yeah,
No
that's it.
change, any questions, general assistance?
And we do have, as Dana pointed out earlier, we have the Community Assistance Fund, which we use to help people, more aimed towards the working poor who might not necessarily qualify for general assistance, but who have, definite need, and people who might not, sometimes there are people who are referred to us that might not seek out assistance, and so, somebody might encourage somebody to come in, and if they're running low on fuel oil or something like that, that's the most typical thing that happens there. But we're very fortunate to have those private funds, and contributions continue to come in with those. So it's really a nice thing to help all people in need. General assistance is a very, very strict program. You have to be at an extremely dire level of poverty to qualify. So oftentimes you have the working poor who don't qualify. So that's what I like about community assistance in addition to general assistance. So community assistance helps keep this number low.
Well, let's give some money so they can put oil in our tank here. Huh?
Well, okay, let me know.
General assistance, I mean.
I give up, let me know.
Rolf?
Our reimbursement on that is 50% or?
No, it's like 70.
70?
70,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's 8,000 is really about 14,000 that we have available for.
Right, if you look on the revenue side's got the expected reimbursement, which hasn't changed.
Any other questions, general assistance? Public comment? Selectmen's comment? Budget finance comment?
Did we do infrastructure?
When's our next meeting?
Our next meeting is the workshop,
We didn't do infrastructure. We didn't do infrastructure.
March 26th.
Infrastructure.
Did we do infrastructure?
Oh, because
It's
there's
in the
nothing in
tip. It's
infrastructure.
in the
Oh,
tip.
okay.
Infrastructure used to be streetlights.
We don't vote.
ABC guy over here forgot the B, so he has to get you.
So our next meeting, next budget meeting is March 26th. It'll be a budget workshop, select board and budget finance committee. At this point, I'll entertain motions to close.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
So,